Thank you for taking the time to speak with me today. I appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. Happy to talk.
Okay, so I wanted to get started asking about the development of the script and the film overall. What was the inspiration in really getting the project going and really working on the story for the film?
Mhm. Well, it's been a long road for this film. I wrote the first draft in 2015. I think I've always been fascinated by twins, and I was initially sort of inspired by just the concept of a twin bereavement group, which I think is such a profound loss. Growing up, I'd say I'm in the generation that sort of idolized twins in various media, American Ashley Olsen, Sister Sister, The Parent Trap. And yeah, it was definitely a personal fantasy of mine to run into a long lost twin one day. But unfortunately, that hasn't happened yet. But I'm still holding out for it. Maybe this movie will bring him to me.
And while you were working on the script, was there any maybe particular research that you did to really um, better get into the story, or what was that process like once you get started writing on the script to really better develop the story as well?
Yeah. I mean, I definitely wanted to bring as much authenticity I could to the twin experience, not being an identical twin myself. So yeah, I read, in addition to like research studies, books by twin psychologists. I have friends who are identical twins. I talked to them. I got their feedback. Being a twin is a monolithic experience, so it's hard to like capture it all. But hopefully, we tried to show different twin points of view, especially in the support group where we hear from a few different twins.
And going from working on the script into directing the film, what was that experience like as well? And really approaching the directing aspect of once production began as well.
Yeah, I mean, they say you write a film three times, once in the script stage, again on set, and then again in the edit. Um, I always feel most confident when I come in prepared. So because we had spent so long with this in the script stage, because we didn't go into production until the end of 2023. Sorry, I'm getting my years confused. The end of 2023. I had a long time with the script. So we had it to a point where we were happy with it, but we were still futzing and just trying to just make it the best version of the film as possible. And part of what we're tracking is the progression of the relationships within the character's arc and their friendship. So there were scenes that I was rewriting, on weekends, or maybe like a monologue that I didn't feel like was quite perfect. Or that we had actually, the one I'm thinking of specifically is Roman's monologue about The Sims. We had to replace the original monologue because we couldn't get the original video game cleared. So there's some stuff that always comes up just to like logistics that you have to like do rewriting. But yeah, I think in terms of approaching it directing, it's like, how do I make this the most cinematic experience of what we're witnessing on the stage? So I really try to approach it by, oh, sorry about that, by creating a visual grammar that I feel like best services like the themes that I'm trying to get across. So for me, it can be a little bit intellectual, but hopefully for the audience, it always feels just um, an organic part of the movie.
Yeah. And speaking also of the editing process and going back and forth between your character and then Rocky and Rowan's character and having some of the flashbacks, and how did you find that balance in the editing process in particular, and really figuring out how much to divulge in each segment, or what was that process like in really building those two relationships through the edit as well?
Yeah. Well, the structure of the film that you see it exists in the same chronological order that was in the script. So that was always very much baked into the writing of it. However, we did make a lot of trims and also cut entire scenes just because our assembly cut was so long. The script was only 100 pages, but the assembly cut came in quite a usually it's like 1 minute per page count, but here we had a lot of extra footage, which was a luxury, but also hard to have to like kill some darlings, and then we, just chip at it. It's kind of like a sculpture, and you're carving away until ultimately we got to the film that you got to witness.
And besides directing on set, what was your experience like also deciding to play tennis at Dennis in the film? Was it always your intention to also star in the film? And what was that experience like in finding that balance of directing and starring in
For a second, I thought you said play tennis. I'm like, oh, how'd she know I play
the
tennis?
film?
Um, yeah, I obviously care so much for Dennis. The decision to play him, I mean, it's always a challenging thing because you're always thinking about casting in terms of financing. It was really my producer, David Permut, who had so much confidence in me starring in this role. That was always the plan since I started working with him. Obviously, it took us quite a few years, even once Dylan O'Brien was attached to get this film off the ground. Um, but yeah, sorry, does that fully answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I was actually about to ask about casting the other actors, especially Dylan. What was that process like in bringing him on board to star with you in the film and just finding the supporting actors in general as well?
Yeah. Well, the initial process was a pretty traditional, like it got sent through his representation. But credit to Dylan, he's an actor who actually reads. My understanding now is he was sent like a list of scripts and he read the log line. He actually read the full thing. He checked out my first film before meeting me. And he just really resonated with the character and the story. And that was immediately apparent when we first met. It was just like I I felt such relief. Like I found this person that I was looking for. He understood all the tonal fluctuations, and I was such a fan of him as an actor. And I felt so confident in his comedic and dramatic versatility that I felt like it was going to be very exciting to work with him. And then on top of that, he's just the most wonderful guy. And I think that made this process. Of him being just like a real partner in crime. He also executive produced the film. Just such a special experience for the both of us.
Speaking also of working with the producers, what was that experience like as well, and really bringing the project to screen with the producing team and approaching that aspect of the film as well?
Yeah. So I produced the film as well as David and his director of development, Alex. Um, I mean, we've been on. They never lost faith in this. They're the most resilient producers I've ever worked with. There were some hard times. It was also, we went through the pandemic, we went through the strikes together. Um, uh, but David Permit, he has other films that have taken 20 years. He talks about like how long it took to get Hacksaw Ridge made. So he always saw the light, and so it's very surreal to be here now, premiering at the Sundance Film Festival, which is where we always hope to one day premiere this film. Um, yeah, I mean, they were just the biggest champions of me. They always supported my vision and just cared so much about making the best version of the film.
And speaking also of premiering at Sundance, what has that experience been like so far, and getting to share the movie with audiences at the festival as well?
Yeah, I mean, premiering opening night at the Eccles Theater will be a night I'll remember for the rest of my life. I've seen the film so many times from being in the edit, but felt like I watched it again for the first time with 1,000 people and got to experience like all the range of emotions with them, which was at times anxious for me, but ultimately really, really satisfying.
And going back to working with Dylan and the rest of the cast, once they all signed on, what was that experience like in getting to build the characters together in the story and really figuring out how you wanted to bring the story to the screen together as well?
Yeah, I love casting. Casting used to be my day job. It is sometimes like assembling a puzzle and trying to make sure all the pieces fit with each other. I feel like we got so lucky with the whole cast, from Dylan O'Brien even to like the day players. I felt like everybody so understood the tone. I try to write where every character you feel like they have a backstory. So I'm just incredibly proud of the cast that we assembled.
And working with everyone on set on location, I saw that you shot in Portland. What was that experience like as well, and getting to film on location and figuring out exactly where you wanted to shoot the film?
Shooting in Portland was quite dreamy, to be honest. I love Portland. I went there for the first time in 2017 for the solar eclipse, so I have very special memories in Portland. Incidentally, it's also a great place to film because they had a great local crew and they had recently increased their tax incentive. So it just all sort of aligned because it made sense narratively as well for it to be set in Portland.
And while you were filming, what was your experience like also in getting to work with your DP in particular? And the cinematography was something that I also enjoyed about the film and wanted to ask about that experience. How did you figure out how you wanted to visually shoot the film?
Thank you. Oh, Greg is my best friend. We met freshman year of film school. So we've been talking about this movie for many, many years and talking about the visual grammar we wanted to bring to it and how we wanted to shoot it. We were very excited to shoot on 35 millimeter film. It was my first time shooting on film. Um, so yeah, it was very collaborative. If I didn't already say, he is my best friend. So we have such a shorthand and it was just really wonderful to go on this whole journey with him.
And going along with like the cinematography and the visuals, what was it like also really creating like the sound and the score for the film? What was that something that you felt was important in telling the story as well and just creating like the natural environment in terms of like the score as well?
Yeah. Hmm. I'd say score was the most difficult design element of this film to pinpoint. I had like ideas of what I wanted to do. We hired the incredible Jail Jung as our composer, who I think is just absolutely brilliant. I love the score so much. But it took some time and a little bit of trial and error to find the score. We knew we wanted to play with both organic and synthetic instrumentation, and I think that really lends itself to the unique tonal blend of the film. In terms of the sound design, I mean, overall, we were really careful with where we placed our score because we never wanted it to overstep or to manipulate a scene. We wanted to let the dialogue and the performances and the characters speak for themselves. Um, so the sound design, because of that, became so integral to the storytelling. I wanted the sound design to feel um, uh, we play with objectivity versus subjectivity. So we worked with some great sound designers at Formosa Group, and I'm like just I mean, sound's always the last thing to happen in the edit
Mhm.
process. But when I heard their first pass of it at the first time, I'm like, oh my God, now it's like a real movie. You know, they say sound is 50% of the movie. And yeah, we had an incredible team. And I think they were, as they've told me, really happy with um, what they feel like they got to do some really innovative things in the sound design that they don't normally get to do, especially in this genre. Um, and that was I'm like, yeah, sorry, I'm kind of mangling this question, but yeah, it was I'm really happy with the sound design.
And now after the film screening at Sundance, what's coming up next for the film? Is there anything in terms of other festivals that you can also discuss, or what's coming up next for the film overall?
Right now we're trying to figure out where the film lives next in terms of distribution. In terms of festivals, I think that's TBD at the moment.
Mm. Great. I think that was mainly it, but thank you again for taking the time to speak with me today. I
Yeah,
appreciate
sorry about all the
it.
distractions.
That's okay. Yeah, I appreciate you taking the time again. Thank you again.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks again.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.